What is it about carrot sticks that you just love?
Well, my teammate this year, Andrea Dvorak, can attest to this, that carrots are a really, really satisfying food. Like, they've got a good crunch. And if you, in public or in the company of others, pull out a carrot, like a big carrot, and you eat it, other people start to want carrots. They think it looks good. It's a time and time again, it's tested. I'll eat a carrot in front of my roommate. She'll be like, oh, I want a carrot. So carrots are very satisfying. They're very crunchy, and they're easy to carry around in my backpack.
Tell us about Race Mara.
Well, first of all, Race Mara and Tour of California Mara are even two different beasts, because that was not actually the best day of my life. And potentially the best part about the entire Tour of California time trial experience was that we decided we were going to do a bike change at the base of the hill because it finished in a big climb. And there aren't a lot of opportunities when you're having a race, when you're doing a race and it's going pretty poorly and you know it's going poorly, that you can throw your bike away and be like, all right, I'm done with you, and get on a different bike and start with something new. And I did it. And it felt so good. Like, I got on my road bike and I was just like, oh, thank God. So that was actually pretty good. But for me, I think a big part of my being sustainable in the sport and being able to have success is the ability to turn it on and turn it off. So up until the moment that the gun goes, I can be joking around. I'm not necessarily dialed in, not necessarily focused. But by being able to separate and being able to say, now I focus, now I don't focus, it keeps your reserves up, and it keeps each person only has so much time that they can spend in a day or an hour or in their lifetime in those phases of extreme focus. And so if I can separate and focus when I need to and release when I don't, that enables me to be sharper and better at focusing when.
Do you ride year-round? Do you have other sports that you
well, I love trail running. I love it. Like, my most recent claim is that once I'm done and dried up in cycling, I'm going to turn into an ultra trail runner, because I love it. And so anytime that there's a little break in the season, I'll start calling my coach, and Dean Gulich is my coach, and I'll be like, Dean, can I go trail running? Can I go trail running? So that helps keep me fresh, and that's something I can do. And the climbs around here have sort of started to become my friends, and so I like to go and visit the climbs and see what's going on the roads and just watch what's changed. And so it's been very sad for me, since all of our climbs have been closed since the flood. I haven't been able to go and visit my friends, but part of it's meditative and repetition, in that you do the same things over and over and over again, and you watch yourself evolve across the process. And that's a little esoteric, but you watch how you develop since you did that last race, or since you did that climb last time, and it actually becomes sort of a fascinating self-study. I also recently upgraded my iPod, and the iPod that I have now lets me listen to the radio, which means that I can go out there, and I can't do this on the climbs because I'll lose service or lose signal, but I can go out and ride on the flats, and I can listen to NPR, and I can go out and listen to all of Morning Edition every single morning. I haven't delved into books on tape yet. I've been sticking mostly with NPR, but books on tape could follow me up into the mountains because I wouldn't need the signal. I usually ride alone, and I have a couple of friends that I will train with and that I'll call up if I have a long day, or sort of in the same way you call up a friend and be like, hey, I want to go get a coffee, let's go catch up. Call up a friend and be like, hey, let's go do our training ride together. I tend, for several reasons, to ride alone. One is because I tend to base my training schedule around the yoga studio schedule, and I like to ride early in the morning. So if it's above freezing and it's light out, which sometimes in the winter, you can get out probably 6:45, 7 a.m. if it's a warm day, and by that I mean above freezing. It's a warm enough day. And so there aren't actually a lot of professional cyclists who think it's a really great idea in November to be going riding at 6:45 a.m. But then they don't all have the goal of getting 3 hours in before the 10:30 a.m. yoga class. So if they'll come with me, I'd love to have them, but I haven't found a lot of people willing to subscribe to my plan.
At what point in your career did you realize, I can become a pro and be good at this?
It's been a bit of an evolution of sort of constantly surprising myself, because the first time I started racing was in collegiate cycling, and I raced for 4 months, and I went to the national championships, collegiate national championships, and I won the road race. And so on one level there, you're saying to yourself, oh my God, I can be good at this. But collegiate national championships are not the same as regular national championships, and I won regular national championships, and that's a whole nother step in this sort of sense of being in awe with yourself and seeing these doors open and realizing, okay, like, well, I accomplished that, what comes next? I accomplished that, what comes next? And so there was a period of 3 or 4 years of just sort of constantly surprising myself and realizing that I could rise to the next level, and then accomplishing something that caused me to look around and sort of say, okay, well, where am I now? Where am I going now? So it was more of a process of realizing level to level to level, as opposed to sitting down and saying, I'm going there.
How do you develop your training plan?
Well, I like to think it's a little, sometimes can be a little bit of negotiation, such as with the trail running, of what I can get away with. Maybe it's not negotiating. Maybe I'm fooling myself when I say that it's probably what I can get away with. But his name's Dean Gullett. He works for Carmichael Training Systems, and they've been a supporter of mine since, I guess I started working with Dean in 2008, so for a good long time now. And one of the greatest things Dean does for me is he sort of removes me from that decision-making capacity or from having to worry about it. And so I'll call him and I'll say, hey, coach, call him boss, hey, boss, here's what's going on. And he'll say, all right, here's what you should do. And I say, okay, and I go and do it. And so that sort of division of labor lets me, it's sort of like I give him the inputs and he gives me the outputs, and then I go and do them, and then I can give him more inputs. And so I trust him a lot, and it took me a long time to trust him, and he sort of tried me out and made sure that I could trust him. And now that I do, I'm not the sort of person where it's easy for me to trust someone, especially with something like my career and my passion and my body. But now that I do trust him, I mean, he could, at this point, like, tell me to go jump in front of a car, and I'd be like, okay, coach. And so that makes my job really easy, because he tells me what to do, and I go do it and let him know how it goes. And that's all I have to do, and it keeps my role really simple.
How have you seen training change since when you first started riding to now?
I think that we can communicate better the more that we get to know each other, and he starts to trust me a little bit more maybe too, and is willing to experiment with things, and he evolves things, but very slowly, and I won't always notice it right away until I look back and I'm like, wait, that changed. And some of the same workouts will cycle through, but you might add another extra interval that wasn't there 3 years ago or something like that. And so it's a very common current, but little things will change, and it's subtle, and you have to sort of be tuned in to see that the feel is different or that the emphasis is different. But that we've been communicating with one another for long enough that it's really easy to see where one another's coming from at this point.